Did you know that the land beneath modern New York, the financial engine of America, was once exchanged for a modest collection of glass beads and iron tools? Today, New York moves fast, wrapped in skyscrapers, global finance and constant urgency. But in the 17th century, this place was barely holding itself together on the edge of the ocean.
The year is 1652, and we stand in the heart of the colony, a beacon of hope against the untouched wilderness.
This is not history told through neat timelines or tidy diagrams. It is the story of real people who lived here, worked here, and tried to survive. At the very start of America's urban story, in the early 1600s, Manhattan was covered in thick forests. Trees reached the shoreline, and the coast remained quiet and largely undisturbed. This was where Europeans first met the Lentai, the native people of the land. The Dutch spread their goods directly on the ground. Metal tools, glass beads, cloth. In Europe, these objects were ordinary. For the Lenape, they were genuinely useful. In return, the Lenape offered furs, mostly beaver, otter, and mink. The exchange was calm. There was no pressure, no threats. For the Dutch, it was trade. For the Lenape, it was a familiar practice, one they had followed long before Europeans arrived. This moment quietly marked the beginning of one of the most important changes in American history. As time passed, trade began reshaping the Lenape world. European diseases spread, new economic rules appeared, and the settlement grew. What began as a simple exchange of goods slowly became displacement. The trade that started with beads ended with the loss of a homeland. Throughout the 17th century, many Lenapes were forced off Manhattan and pushed west. Their traditions weakened, and their deep relationship with the land was broken, a pattern that would repeat itself across North America. From above, New Amsterdam looked small and improvised. Houses stood without much planning. Streets were narrow, muddy, and uneven. Pigs wandered freely between buildings, kept by nearly every household. They dug beneath foundations and created endless problems for local authorities. Life moved slowly. The working day followed sunlight and weather. Windmills turned on higher ground, and smoke rose steadily from chimneys. This was not a powerful city. It was a city figuring itself out. Learning to live within this disorder was not failure. It was the raw beginning of a place shaped by movement, trade, and adaptation. At the center of the settlement stood a fort. It was not decorative, it was authority made visible. Soldiers were stationed there, weapons stored, and colonial officials gathered behind its walls. Nearby stood a Reformed church. Faith shaped daily routines in the colony. On Sundays, residents attended services, heard sermons, and exchanged news. Yet New Amsterdam was surprisingly tolerant for its time. Protestants of many branches lived alongside Catholics, Jews, and followers of other beliefs. This early diversity would later become one of the defining traits of American cities. The colony itself was controlled by the Dutch West India Company. It wrote the laws, collected taxes, and regulated trade. The legal system was simple but unforgiving. Judges ruled on debts, public behavior, and commercial disputes. Punishments ranged from fines to physical penalties and forced labor. Taxes applied to land, trade, and goods. Life in New Amsterdam was shaped less by personal freedom and more by corporate authority, an early example of how economic power influenced American society. Along the northern edge of the settlement stood a wooden wall. It marked the town's boundary. One day it would give its name to Wall Street, the future financial center of the United States. In the 17th century, It represented not wealth, but anxiety and defense. The wall was built largely out of fear of English expansion. Notices, warnings, and orders were posted along it. People passed by, aware that beyond it lay uncertainty and risk. Down by the water, the docks of the West India Company formed the city's economic lifeline. This was where New Amsterdam truly came alive. Ships arrived from Europe and the Caribbean carrying furs, sugar, timber, and barrels of alcohol. The air was thick with the smell of tar, wet rope, and raw wood. Work here never stopped. The city depended on it. From the docks, a canal stretched deep into the settlement. One day, it would become Broad Street. At the time, it was a dirty waterway, where small boats delivered goods straight to warehouses. The labor was brutal. Hired European workers, indentured servants, and enslaved Africans carried heavy cargo by hand, often standing knee-deep in mud. This canal mattered more than any road, because it fed the city and kept it functioning. The market was the most energetic place in New Amsterdam. Languages mixed freely: Dutch, English, French, German, fish bread, cloth, and tools exchanged hands. Children played nearby while adults discussed business and rumors. Close to the market lay Bowling Green, a small open space where residents gathered, spoke, and briefly escaped daily pressures. Winter slowed the settlement almost to a stop. Families stayed indoors, celebrated holidays, and welcomed the new year. Yet political tension continued to rise. Governor Peter Stuyvesant ruled firmly and expected obedience. He was known for his wooden leg, reinforced with metal, and for his uncompromising character. In 1664, English warships entered the harbor. Stuyvesant wanted resistance. The people declined, choosing survival over pride. Without a single battle, New Amsterdam passed into English hands and received a new name, Meeblich-E. New York. Life continued in taverns. People drank, smoked, argued over prices, and speculated about the future. It was in these crowded rooms that a new society slowly took shape, one that would eventually turn a small colonial settlement into a global city. New Amsterdam was unfinished and fragile, but the foundations of a future megacity were already present. This was only one moment in its early history, when New York was just beginning to understand what it might become. If you want to explore another era or another city, let us know in the comments. Subscribe so you do not lose your place in time. Until we meet again in history.